Welcome back to the deep dive. You've sent us a stack of source material that honestly reads like a classified military political thriller set 3 centuries in the
It
future.
really does. And we wouldn't have it any other way.
Not at all. Today, we are strapping in for a conflict that spans 12 light years. We're talking about a pivotal U.S. presidential election in 2388 that hinges not just on, precinct votes, but on quantum physics, marine mecha, and the fate of an entire city on the moon.
This is one of those deep dives where the historical accounts just feel unreal. The crisis we're looking at, it shattered all the norms of, well, both intergalactic warfare and domestic politics.
It really did. I mean, the sources cover events on 2 separate planets, plus a massive battle 10,000 astronomical units from Earth. It feels less like history and more like high-octane speculative fiction.
Exactly.
So that's our mission today. We are going to unpack the 2388 crisis, focusing specifically on those pivotal 48 hours, October 31st and November 1st. This is where a single coordinated star-spanning conspiracy tried to assassinate the sitting U.S. president.
And fix the national election through an act of mass murder. The stakes were, literally astronomical.
Okay, so set the political stage for us. It's 2388. Who's in the race?
A really bitter fight between the incumbent Republican President Alexander Moore, he's a former Marine, and the Democrat nominee, Senator Rita Webb.
And the sources say the election wasn't just close.
No, it was on a knife's edge.
Yeah.
And it was hyper-regionalized, which is the key. The entire outcome, everything, depended on the electoral votes from 2 places, Central Florida and, crucially, Luna City.
So you have this concentration of power in 2 very different geographical areas. You've got Florida sort of representing the old Earth power base.
Right.
And then Luna City, which is, the future. It represents the explosive growth of the orbital colonies.
And that's what made them such critical targets for anyone looking to manipulate the results. You take out one, you swing the whole election.
And the source material is very clear about where this all came from.
Oh, absolutely. It pinpoints the origin of this malice to the Separatist nation, which is this rogue group headquartered way out near the Tau Ceti star system.
And we should be clear, this isn't some small group of radicals.
No, not at all. This is a highly organized, coordinated attack that was planned years in advance. It was all about achieving maximum political and psychological effect on the American public.
So to really get the scope of this, we need to meet the key players that the sources follow. Let's start with President Alexander Moore himself.
Right, so Moore is not your typical politician. He's an embattled former Marine, a decorated combatant. The sources mention he was even a POW during the grueling Martian desert campaigns years ago.
So this is a man who has been tested under extreme pressure.
Absolutely. The sources paint him as someone who just flat out refuses to break. His resolve is described as being forged from, the hardest metals known to man. He's tough.
Okay, so that's the target. Who is the architect of the whole crisis?
That would be the calculating and, truly ruthless terrorist leader known publicly as Elle Ahmi.
Just Elle Ahmi.
For now, her true identity is one of the biggest, darkest political secrets we're going to uncover in this deep dive. But for now, let's just say she views political maneuvering and mass violence as completely interchangeable tools.
Whatever gets the job done.
Whatever gets her the power she wants. Exactly.
And then we have our eyes and ears on the inside, deep behind enemy lines. Kira Shavi.
Yes, a single CIA operative. But the sources are really specific about this. She is not some academic doing desk work.
No.
She has nearly 2 decades of intensive, highly specialized hand-to-hand combat training. Her reflexes are honed to a razor's edge, and she's been deep undercover for 5 long years. She is risking everything to get this intel back.
And finally, you have the 2 militaries.
Right. The technologically advanced United States Marines and Navy deploying these heavily armored mecha and massive supercarriers. And they're pitted against the equally advanced but ideologically very different military cells of the Separatists.
This is where the technology really comes into focus. Something the sources mention over and over again is that the hosts use AIC's artificial intelligence counterparts. What does that actually mean for a pilot in 2388?
It's a crucial concept. It means their consciousness is, for all intents and purposes, extended into the machine they're piloting.
So it's not like a co-pilot or an autopilot?
Not at all. An AIC isn't just a navigation computer or a targeting system. It's a symbiotic intelligence that works in a direct neural mind link with the human operator.
A mind link.
Yes. It allows these pilots to process battlefield data, execute maneuvers, and react at speeds that, frankly, no unaugmented human nervous system could possibly manage on its own.
It sounds like they've basically outsourced their rapid decision-making to a digital twin.
That's a great way to put it. But the dangers are obvious, right? If that link is ever compromised, or if the pilot suffers extreme psychological stress, the line between human and machine performance can fatally blur.
I can imagine.
But it is the standard for high-level combat. This deep mind link is what enables the superhuman feats of piloting and combat we're about to get into. It sets the stage for a conflict fought not just with weapons, but with data and psychological warfare.
All right, let's start where the crisis first hit home. Orlando, Florida. It's October 31st, 2388. Halloween. President Moore is on vacation with his family.
And not just any vacation. They're at the Magic Kingdom. It should be the safest, happiest place on Earth.
Which is what makes the attack so audacious.
Absolutely. The level of planning is just staggering. They turned a global center of entertainment into a kill box. So Moore is on this classic Space Mountain-style hover coaster with his wife, Sahara, and his 12-year-old daughter, Deanna.
Who's dressed as an anime superhero, the sources note.
Yes, exactly. A little detail to show how mundane the moment was. They're just trying to get a few hours of normalcy before the final election push.
And that normalcy just ends
Abruptly. The coaster car starts accelerating wildly, way beyond its safety limits. They realize immediately the ride systems have been hacked. This isn't a malfunction. The coaster is an intentional crash vehicle, and it's aimed right at the president.
So what happens? The Secret Service has to react in seconds.
And their reaction is immediate and, frankly, desperate. The sources detail these astonishing actions by an agent named Thomas Washington.
Okay.
Knowing they have seconds to slow this car down before it derails at a lethal velocity, he pulls out his M-blaster.
An M-blaster. We should probably clarify that's a directed energy weapon, right? Not a projectile firearm.
Correct. It focuses a tight beam of energy designed to neutralize electronics or breach light armor. But Washington uses it on a piece of metal he is physically touching. The 5-centimeter thick steel restraint bar holding him in his seat.
He's shooting his own restraint.
He has to. He holds the beam on the metal, vaporizing this chromium molybdenum alloy. And the sources describe the extreme risk here. Splattering molten steel instantly causes severe burns across his face, his neck, his hands.
What?
It was a calculated sacrifice of his own flesh just to buy them a few seconds.
He destroys his own restraint, freeing himself just enough to get to the back of the car where the power controls are.
Exactly. And while Washington is doing that, another agent, Clay Jackson, he gets a clear shot at the propulsion system of the president's car. He fires his own weapon, vaporizing the power system with these brilliant, cracking white and blue bolts.
So they've cut the power.
Washington finishes the job, destroying the final power unit, but the momentum is still huge. It throws him clear out of the car. He's moving at 70 kilometers per hour when he slams into this heavy chain-link fencing around some computer equipment.
That kind of impact would incapacitate a normal person for hours.
It would. And he's left briefly unconscious, broken nose, cracked ribs, severe radiation burns. But the sources are clear. He immediately recovers enough to inject himself.
With what?
A high-powered cocktail. We're talking immunoboosters, fast-acting painkillers, and a huge dose of adrenaline. That immediate physical recovery is crucial because the attack escalates instantly.
The extraction plan is already going sideways. Marine One, the presidential hovercraft, is on its way.
It's inbound, near Cinderella's castle. But then it's just eliminated, taken out of the sky by what the sources describe as kamikaze amusement park vehicles.
Are you kidding? Kamikaze?
It sounds farcical, but it was deadly serious. We're talking about vehicles intended for children. The magic carpets, the Dumbo, the flying elephants, all of them hacked.
Oh my God.
They were turned into remote-controlled projectiles, fitted with explosive charges designed to detonate on impact. It created this devastating sandwich effect to wipe out the Secret Service detail and the president. The initial extraction vehicle is just gone, utterly destroyed.
And the threat just keeps broadening, turning the whole park into a war zone?
The entire park. The Secret Service team, they form a defensive perimeter around Moore and his family, and then they find themselves surrounded by more hacked Disney theme park creatures.
This is where it gets really bizarre.
It really is. You have railgun-toting cowboys from the Frontierland ride, aquatic creatures from the Little Mermaid ride, aliens, pterodactyls, and then a massive lumbering Gigantosaurus that just stomps down Main Street, armed with heavy particle cannons.
A Gigantosaurus.
Yes, they're being systematically hemmed in, pushed against this rock wall near an amphitheater. It's the ultimate juxtaposition of, childhood innocence and brutal warfare.
The Secret Service has to hold the line until the secondary extraction vehicle arrives.
And this vehicle is anything but subtle.
No, this is BIL, which the sources say is a heavily armored, mechanized spider thing that serves as the presidential limo.
VIL is built for exactly this scenario. It just accelerates forward, ignoring the combatants. It uses its heavy armor and this bulbous, multi-layered head to just crush the smaller hostile AI robots.
And the climax of this whole Orlando section is BIL's exit strategy.
It is. It doesn't navigate around the park infrastructure. It doesn't follow the roads.
No, it bursts straight through Cinderella's castle.
Straight through it. The centuries-old icon, the stone and steel structure, just can't withstand the impact and the loss of structural integrity. It collapses into this massive pile of rubble and dust as the armored spider escapes.
Wait, so the sources actually document the literal destruction of Cinderella's castle. That's not just military action. That's a deliberate act of cultural destruction.
Oh, absolutely intentional. It's aimed right at the heart of American nostalgia. The media reaction was, of course, intense, but the Separatists got what they wanted.
Which was?
A massive visual shockwave. The message was, if the president can't even protect the symbols of your civilization, how can he possibly protect the nation? It was propaganda gold, even though more survived.
Thankfully, the cavalry did arrive. Let's talk about the Marine Corps response. The FM-12 strike mecha, the Cardiff's killers.
These are just massive bipedal fighting vehicles. They're piloted by some of the most specialized soldiers in the U.S. military, people like Captain Adam Hee Haw Elliott and Lieutenant Delilah Jawbone Strong. Yeah, the source says she earned that call sign by jokingly promising to beat a cadet to death with his own jawbone if he failed her training course.
Okay, so she's tough.
Very. And the capabilities of these mecha pilots are, truly extraordinary.
The sources mentioned the intense physiological cost of what they do. They're operating at supersonic speeds over 2,000 kilometers per hour, pulling these high-G corkscrews. What does that kind of G-force do to a person?
It's incredibly demanding. Even with advanced inertial dampeners, the pilots are constantly fighting to stay conscious. The stress is immense. The sources describe them literally choking down bile induced by the sudden violent shifts in momentum.
So you have to be in peak physical and mental condition.
Beyond peak. They have to pass advanced psychological screening because the physical limits are just so easily reached and surpassed.
And the tech that allows them to fight under that stress is the full quantum membrane, or QM, display. We hear about QM and QMT a lot. Can you break down what the QM display is?
Certainly. The QM display is a very advanced form of augmented reality. It uses quantum technology to process visual data and projects it directly onto the pilot's eyes.
Okay.
And it does it in such a way that the physical cockpit, the structure of the plane, or the mecha, it's entirely removed from their field of view.
So the pilot doesn't see the frame of their own vehicle? They don't see the console in front of them?
Exactly. To the pilot, it appears as if they are floating in space with a completely unobstructed 360-degree view of the entire battle space.
That's a massive tactical advantage.
Huge. It offers maximum situational awareness, eliminates all blind spots, lets them track dozens of targets at once. But the psychological cost is significant.
How so?
A lot of pilots suffer from a specific kind of agoraphobia because they feel completely exposed, just suspended in the void at these impossible speeds. It takes a very specialized, fearless kind of mind to handle that level of sensory input and disorientation.
So the killers hold the line long enough for Moore to execute the final escape.
Right. And this required leveraging the very technology at the heart of the entire conflict. Moore realizes the enemy's weakness.
Which is the wireless hack.
Exactly. The whole coordinated attack relied on this massive distributed wireless hack to control all the robots. So he orders his AIC, Abigail, to jam those frequencies instantly. She uses a QM broad-spectrum transmitter that's built right into his suit.
And the threat is just neutralized?
Momentarily, the cowboys and the Giganosaurus, they just freeze mid-stride. And with that path now clear, Moore and his team are instantly beamed up.
By the orbiting USS John Tyler using the quantum membrane teleportation, or QMT, system.
And this is the moment where QMT goes from a theoretical threat to a terrifying reality. It's not just fast travel. It's instantaneous displacement across thousands of kilometers.
What do the sources say it feels like?
A brilliant flash, a crackling hiss, and an instantaneous shift in momentum. 1 second, they're in a war zone in a theme park. The next, they're on the bridge of a carrier, 1,200 kilometers above the Earth. Safe.
It seems almost too perfect. The president is saved by the exact same high-level technology his enemies are using to wage war.
The sources suggest a duality there. It wasn't planned as theater, they just defaulted to the highest level of security available. But you can be sure his AIC, Abigail, calculated the political value of that rescue.
Absolutely. It neutralized the visual of the collapsing castle with the visual of the untouchable leader. He's using QMT for both survival and for propaganda.
Precisely.
Okay, so as the president was dodging railgun-toting pirates in Florida 12 light years away, the critical counterintelligence was being gathered.
This is key. While the Secret Service was battling sentient elephants, Kirishavi was already bleeding the truth out of the Separatists near Tau Ceti.
So Kirishavi, the CIA operative, she's been deep in Separatist territory since the mass migrations of the Martian exodus back in 2383.
Her cover was incredibly intricate and deeply personal. She was posing as a second-tier wife in the powerful Tangier family.
A second-tier wife.
Yeah, it's part of the Separatist matriarchal culture we'll touch on later. But she used this domestic position to get access to their high-level shipping and business matters. It was the only way in.
But her cover is blown. When we meet her in the sources, she's been captured, tortured, and is zip-tied to an examining table on the Flegra battlecruiser.
And she executes this just brutally violent escape that relies entirely on her 2 decades of training. She's freed for a moment by a conflicted ally, we'll get to him, and she immediately turns the tide.
How does she do it?
Pure physical force and martial skill. The sources describe a headbutt to one guard's face, a sweeping kick to the groin of another, breaking a third's elbow with a bone-jarring crack. Then she gets a handgun and eliminates the rest of the security detail.
It sounds clinical.
It is. The description of the violence is very detached. She's unconcerned with anything but the mission. There's a line about her splattering bloody gray matter against the bulkhead of the cruiser without a second thought.
And before she flees the ship, she performs the single most critical action of the entire crisis.
She uses her AIC, Allison, to hack into the ship's hardened database and steal everything she can.
And this intelligence dump is the smoking gun.
It is the ultimate smoking gun the U.S. military needed. She found files marked QMT, quantum membrane transportation. And the documents immediately reveal that the core technology did not originate with the Separatists.
Where did it come from?
A 40-year-old, highly classified U.S. Department of Defense report.
A U.S. report. So the enemy wasn't actually ahead of us technologically.
No, they were just operating with stolen documents. The report, designated QMT-4, it detailed advanced applications for large ship teleportations, which was novel enough, but it also outlined methods for accurate single human transport to within meters.
Which was considered science fiction at the time.
Total science fiction. And it was deeply classified because of its revolutionary military implications.
And here's where Kira's observation skills really pay off. She recognizes a very specific detail in the facility design described in that stolen report.
That's the key that unlocks the whole mystery. She sees a design for concentric octagonal structures with towers.
And she's seen that design before.
She realizes it's the exact same design used at the Oort Cloud facility, the very target the U.S. must now attack, and also above the Separatist capital city, New Tharsis. This confirms, beyond any doubt, that the Separatists used U.S. foundational designs. They didn't develop QMT, they stole the blueprints.
And the final piece of intel seals the deal.
She finds the Flegra's flight plan.
And what does it say?
It shows the battlecruiser is scheduled to return to Sol space via the QMT bridge in just 2 hours.
2 hours.
Which confirms their intent to use QMT for mass transport, and it aligns perfectly with the timing of the assassination attempt on Moore. It tells U.S. command the enemy ship is coming, and it will be at Earth's doorstep almost instantly. Without Kira's escape, the U.S. would have been completely blindsided.
This whole conspiracy is massive in scale, but the sources also show it's deeply personal, driven by one individual with this just unbelievable past. We have to talk about the terrorist leader, Elle Ahmi.
This is, without a doubt, the most shocking revelation in the entire source material. It's the dark motivation for everything. Elle Ahmi is not just some separatist commander.
Who is she?
She is Sienna Madira, the 11th President of the United States.
The former U.S. president is the architect of the attack on the current U.S. president. How is that even possible?
She faked her death. During the chaos of the Martian exodus in 2383, the sources confirm she used experimental technology to undergo intensive biological rejuvenation.
Rejuvenation?
It essentially reset her body to that of a woman in her early 20s. She also dramatically changed her appearance. Long, jet black hair, adopting the look favored by Martian colonial women. She went from elder stateswoman to the young masked figure claiming credit for terrorist acts.
And eventually became the supreme ruler of the Separatist nation.
On Ares, yes. That level of deception and reinvention is just
Wow.
staggering.
And her capital city, New Tharsis, sounds like it was engineered to reflect her absolute control.
It's a deliberate display of power. It's built atop a massive, dormant Martian volcano, a huge peninsula, roughly the size of Virginia, and she engineered the internal environment with climate-controlled tech to mimic Earth's biomes.
This is like a paradise.
A distorted one. It ranges from high alpine mountains down to tropical rainforests and black, sandy beaches, like Hawaii's Mauna Kea. And of course, she placed her headquarters, her Oval Office, at the very highest peak.
So she can literally look down on her entire dominion.
Correct. It reinforces her sense of being this omnipotent ruler, looking down on the world she created after abandoning the one she once ruled.
What's really fascinating is how she engineered the society within New Tharsis. It's explicitly a matriarchy, but with a very specific military design.
Yes, this was cultural engineering, not accidental drift. Elle purposefully singled out strong women for the upper echelons of her command structure, business, politics. It created this dominant matriarchal culture where things like multiple wife families are the norm in business circles.
So where did the men fit into this?
They were intentionally placed in charge of the military and the combat cells.
Why?
Elle's stated cynical belief was that men's machismo and bravado were just easier to manipulate into hostile and dangerous action. She saw women as superior for strategy and stability, while men were better suited for disposable, high-risk military operations.
That's a chillingly pragmatic view of gender roles in warfare.
And that belief became deeply embedded in the Separatist culture. It framed their entire military strategy around these aggressive, high-risk, high-reward engagements.
So this massive star-spanning military operation, the attack on Moore, the imminent threat to Luna City, it was all just a tool to achieve a political end back in Sol space.
Precisely. Her ultimate goal was surgical political manipulation. She intended to destroy Luna City with the Flagra battlecruiser.
And her reasoning?
Her political calculus was based on hard data. Moore would lose the entire election without the crucial bloc electoral votes that Luna City provided. It's a shocking look at how a former U.S. president viewed mass murder as just a strategic move, a tool to eliminate a rival.
To calculate the timing of all this, Elle and her longtime associate, Scotty, who, by the way, was a former U.S. Chief Justice, designed this incredibly complex scientific model of human culture.
That's right. This wasn't just predicting an outcome, it was about mandating an outcome.
What kind of data did this model use?
It used these complex, almost esoteric coefficients like growth star and war sub-T. It incorporated everything from local weather control data to sunspot activity to simulate human behavior and electoral outcomes down to the precinct level.
It sounds like they believed they had reduced human society to an equation.
They absolutely did. The sources suggest this model was so advanced, Elle believed it could have earned them a Nobel Prize if they weren't using it to overthrow governments.
But this seemingly perfect data-driven plan was nearly derailed by something very human, a betrayal.
That's right. Scotty, the former Chief Justice, her confidant for decades, he confessed to the ultimate act of treason.
What did he do?
He was the one who freed Kira Shavi. He allowed her to escape and steal the QMT documents.
Why? Why would he risk everything?
He said Elle's plan to destroy Luna City crossed a moral boundary he just couldn't permit. Scotty had family there, a son, 3 grandchildren, 7 great-grandchildren.
Wow.
He couldn't let the plan go forward. He claimed he did it for Elle's own soul, not just for his family. The man who helped design a model to predict human behavior acts in the most unpredictable human way possible. Love and conscience.
And the consequence of that betrayal is horrific.
And personal. And instant.
Yeah.
Elle Ahmi believing Scotty's actions were, and this is a quote, the only logical solution to protect her master plan from moral contamination, executes him. Right there in her penthouse office. She shoots him between the eyes with a rail pistol. The force splatters his remains across the transparent wall of her office, overlooking the artificial rainforest she created. The sources stress how casual and cold-blooded it was. She saw his conscience as a dangerous variable that had to be eliminated.
And then there's the final damning twist. Scotty is revealed to be Sahara's father.
President Moore's father-in-law.
Yes. The irony is just tragic. And the political connections are terrifying. A former U.S. president executes her longtime lover, who is also the father-in-law of the current sitting president, all to fix an election through genocide.
It ties the entire conspiracy directly into the Moore family structure. It creates this massive, dark secret that the current president now has to carry.
Okay, so with the Flagra battle cruiser now barreling towards Sol space, the U.S. military has to intercept it. The focus shifts to the Oort Cloud, 10,000 astronomical units from Sol. This is where the Separatist teleportation facility is.
The U.S. counterattack was swift and massive. They sent their strongest assets, the supercarriers Sienna Madira.
I have to stop you there. Does the source say they really named their flagship after a disgraced former president who is now an intergalactic terrorist?
Yes. It was an intelligence oversight that became this really dark joke in the fleet. The supercarrier was commissioned before the Martian Exodus, back when Sienna Madira was still considered a beloved, if controversial, leader.
So they were literally fighting the mastermind on a vessel bearing her name.
That's right. They couldn't decommission or rename a 1,000-meter-long ship quickly enough. So you have the Sienna Madira and the Anthony Blair, along with multiple mecha squadrons, the gods of war, saviors and killers, and the armored E-suit Marines, the AEMs.
And these ships drop out of hyperspace and are instantly ambushed.
Completely blindsided by a weapon that intelligence had somehow totally missed, a massive mass driver gun hidden on a nearby planetoid.
And this isn't a laser or a plasma cannon.
No, this is pure kinetic force. The gun fires rounds the size of a fighter plane, and it accelerates them to approximately a quarter of the speed of light.
A quarter of the speed of light. A near-relativistic kinetic weapon. The damage from that would be catastrophic.
It was. The Sienna Madira took massive, crippling damage in the first volley, and the sources detail the weapon's precise schedule.
It had a schedule.
It was tuned for maximum damage. It fired rounds in volleys of 2, with only 31 seconds between internal shots. But critically, there was a 3-minute and 57-second gap between volleys for recharging.
So they were on a death clock.
Absolutely, counting down to the next kinetic missile that would finish them off.
The Madira is hit hard. It loses its sublight, auxiliary, and hyperspace drives. It's a dead duck in space. And the next round is coming in under 4 minutes.
This is the moment where desperation forces incredible ingenuity. It brings us to Main Propulsion Assistant, Lieutenant Joe Buckley II, and Engineer's Mate First Class Finney Shaw.
They're in the engine room.
They are. Surrounded by fires, whistling flow leaks, high-voltage arcs, Buckley knows the ship is dead and the next shot will vaporize them. So he decides that imminent death from a relativistic mass driver round qualifies as the absolute worst-case scenario.
And he has to improvise a way to power up the hyperspace drive, something that shouldn't be possible.
His actions are legendary within the fleet. He basically realized they had to bridge this huge power gap between the ship's remaining storage capacitors and the hyperspace projector.
Okay, so walk us through this insane, heroic improvisation step by step.
First, he directs EM1 Shaw to break a crucial cooling loop valve open. Shaw, knowing the massive internal pressures and radiation risk, doesn't hesitate. He uses what's described as a literal big fucking wrench, a BFW, to smash and shear the valve off.
They intentionally breach their own cooling system.
To get access to the power flow conduits. Then Buckley sends a fire crew to laser weld a massive structural hatch door shut across a hallway.
A hatch door.
To connect 2 separate major flow loop conduits. They're literally using the physical structure of the ship as a conductor bridge, improvising a path for a massive power surge.
In the final step, bridging the connection to the QMT drive itself.
He uses this massive, thickly insulated but ultimately inadequate power cable. He wraps it around the broken pipe opening as a crude power conduit to bridge the enormous energy gap. When he makes the connection manually, sparks just explode. Fingers of electricity leap across the room.
It works.
The QMT projector swirls up. The Madira executes a final, desperate, successful QMT jump. It reappears miles away, just evading the incoming mass driver shot. The ship is saved.
But the cost to the engineers is immense.
It's permanent. It was a sacrifice of the highest order. Both Lieutenant Buckley and EM1 Shaw were immediately exposed to extremely high-energy X-rays during that process.
What happened to them?
The radiation dosage was instantaneous and overwhelming. Massive internal swelling, cellular degradation. The sources confirmed that both men survived, but the medical severity was so great that they required the amputation of all their limbs.
My God.
They saved the flagship, but they paid for it with their entire physical future.
So while the Navy is fighting for survival in orbit, the Marine Armored E-Suit Marines, the AEMs, Robert's robots, they're on the ground inside the Oort facility.
Right. The AEMs, including a Lance Corporal Tommy Suez, are fighting armored drop tanks and enemy infantry in low gravity. Their mission is delicate, though. They have to capture the teleportation tech intact so they're under orders and minimize structural damage.
And Suez and his team find a second abandoned mass driver station on a nearby moon.
Yes, the Separatists had intended it for local defense, but they focused all their resources on the big, star-targeting weapon on the planetoid. It was overconfidence, and it was their fatal flaw.
And crucially, they find something else.
They find hacked Separatist user manuals on a local network hub.
Pirated user manuals save the day. That is the ultimate technical reversal.
It is. Using his AIC and these pirated manuals, Lance Corporal Suez unlocks the targeting system of this abandoned mass driver gun. The AEMs gain remote control of this massive weapon.
And they have a target.
Tommy Suez's AIC tracks the inbound Flagra battlecruiser, the very ship Kirashabi escaped from. It is just QMT jumped from Tau Ceti and is preparing for its final, fatal jump into Earth space right near Luna City.
So the Marines, using the Separatists' own technology and their own abandoned weapon, are able to make the ultimate interception.
The shot is calculated and executed flawlessly. As the final bar goes green, Suez depresses the trigger, the moon's mass driver fires. The shot hits the Flagra as it attempts its final jump, direct hit, blows out a huge section of the forward hull, secondary explosions. The ship is utterly destroyed.
And the Luna City attack is thwarted.
Thwarted entirely by marine ingenuity and a stolen technical manual.
This military victory should have been an unqualified win for President Moore. He should have been a wartime hero.
Instead, he lands back on Earth and is immediately engulfed by this brutal political maelstrom.
Impeachment proceeding.
Immediate impeachment proceedings, orchestrated by the Dominion majority, led by this highly aggressive Congresswoman Amakachi. They used the terror attack as fuel for their pre-existing grievances.
And what was the central claim?
The damning claim was that Moore's White House had intentionally leaked the classified QMT-4 blueprints to the Separatists.
And they had proof.
They cited a public magazine article from 2385 where the blueprints had mysteriously appeared. She argued this leak, whether it was intentional or just grossly negligent, was why the Separatists had the technology in the first place.
So she's basically accusing him of treason or, at best, catastrophic incompetence.
Exactly. And she cites campaign funds received by the RNC from suspected Separatist sympathizer organizations as circumstantial evidence of collusion. It was pure, cynical, calculated timing. They knew the public needed a scapegoat.
So Moore, seeing his election slipping away, has to move fast.
And discreetly. He uses a prearranged message, a signal delivered by his wife, Sahara. Go for a run and feed the ducks down at King Street.
What does that mean?
It's a signal to meet his political ally, Senate Majority Leader Hardin Madira, a Democrat from Wyoming, at a neutral public location.
And he cuts a deal.
He executes a classic backroom deal. He trades a massive, much-needed earmark for new climate control infrastructure in Madira's home state to secure the votes he needs to stop the impeachment.
So he won the political fight through old-fashioned horse trading.
Initially, yes. It proved that the scandal was largely just political posturing that could be bought off if the price was right. But Moore wasn't just dealing in favors. He was dealing in concealed facts.
The truth bomb.
Exactly. The impeachment effort completely collapses when the Attorney General reviews the hidden truth.
And what's that?
The Attorney General announced that the leaked QMT-4 blueprints that appeared in that magazine article, they were false.
False.
They were intentionally altered and leaked by the FBI and the Department of Energy. It was part of a deep, classified sting operation to uncover a double agent at the Los Alamos laboratories.
So the Separatists didn't just steal the plans, they stole deliberately bad plans.
Which explains why the U.S. Navy's QMT system was superior, allowing the Madira to make that impossible jump when the Flagra couldn't. The impeachment effort just vaporizes instantly.
And this is Moore's turning point.
Absolutely. He delivers this powerful national address, introducing the heroes of the Oort Cloud Battle Commander Jack Boland, Lieutenant Delilah Jawbone Strong, and of course the severely injured but surviving engineers, Buckley and Shaw.
And that cements his image.
It does. As the decisive leader who faced down terror and conspiracy, it completely flips the polls and leads to an unprecedented landslide victory. The genius was waiting for the perfect moment to reveal the truth for maximum impact.
The military victory is secured, the political victory is secured. But the story doesn't end there. It ends with this deeply personal and utterly chilling final confrontation.
In the Oval Office, the mastermind, Elle Ahmi, the former president Sienna Madira, she uses a small oval QMT beacon, a beacon she had kept in a lockbox in the president's own desk.
Wait, In his desk.
Yes, and she teleports directly into the Oval Office. Moore, of course, had his AIC, Abigail, set up jamming fields, but only for outside listeners. He knew she might try this. He allowed it.
This scene is terrifyingly intimate.
It is. She's drinking Moore's Maker's Mark whiskey. And she casually confirms that she kills Scotty Sierra's father for his betrayal. She describes it chillingly as the only logical solution.
And she asks Moore to relay the news to his wife.
Yes. This isn't just political confrontation. It's a family drama played out at the highest possible level of power. And she doesn't stop there. She reveals the dark alliance that underpinned Moore's entire success.
What do you mean?
She admits Moore's election win was successful, partly because he successfully utilized the political leverage she provided. He was a piece on her political chessboard.
The leverage she provided by attacking him.
Yes. By launching the attack and revealing weaknesses in U.S. security, she forced Moore into a corner. When he successfully used QMT for the extraction and the counterattack, he established this global narrative of strength that ultimately benefited her strategic goals. It showed that the U.S. military, though strong, was predictable. She was controlling the narrative, even in defeat.
And she gives him a cold-blooded warning.
A personal threat. She pokes Moore in the chest and warns him, family connections will only get you so far. And she reminds him that the last person to fuck with my plans just had his ashes spread over a rainforest.
It's an explicit threat of murder against the president.
And his family.
Yeah.
And Moore and his AIC, Abigail, they confirm their intent to stop her. But they make a critical strategic decision right there in that moment.
They don't take her out.
They choose patience. They realize that killing Elle Ahmi now would destabilize the Separatist Union beyond recovery. It could start an even greater conflict, a system-wide civil war. They have to wait.
And then she's just gone.
Vanishes with a crackling hiss and a flash of light, leaving Moore alone in his office with the chilling realization that the leader of the enemy nation can appear in his bedroom at any time she wants.
So we have completed our deep dive into the 2388 crisis, and what we found is this incredible, multi-layered conspiracy.
A star-spanning war initiated by a former U.S. president who faked her death, who used advanced scientific models to fix an election, and murdered her former lover, who happened to be the current president's father-in-law.
The battle itself was a fusion of the absurd and the heroic. You had sentient theme park rides weaponized for assassination.
The complete destruction of a centuries-old cultural icon, the radiation-scorched ingenuity of Lieutenant Buckley and EM-1 Shaw.
And the ultimate destruction of a battle cruiser by an abandoned mass driver, hacked by Marines using stolen user manuals. It's just an incredible series of events.
But the most profound takeaway here really is the role of technology and its political scope. The quantum membrane teleportation system is the ultimate game changer. It allowed the Separatists to instantly bridge the 12 light years between Tau Ceti and Sol.
It turned a remote colonial conflict into an instantaneous threat on Earth's doorstep.
And it transforms the entire scope of political and military conflict. It facilitated the ultimate black op, Elle Ahmi teleporting into the Oval Office. It turns the highest office of the land into a secret meeting point for high treason. Instantaneous travel means instantaneous political and military insertion.
Which leaves us with the final provocative thought for you to consider. President Alexander Moore won his unprecedented landslide election. His public image is cemented as a hero who faced down terror.
But
Given the source material, given the fact that the political chessboard was set by his enemy, that she holds his family secrets, and that she can teleport into his office at any moment, who truly holds the power?
is it the president who won the election, or is it the mastermind who controls the fundamental technology and the secrets that underpin his entire victory?
Something to mull over until our next deep dive.
We'll see you next time.